Welcome back to another action-packed episode of the Deadly Podcast Kung Fu, brought to you by the Villains of Man, where myself, Justin Raymer, attempts to traverse the continuity of Marvel's most prolific martial artist in Iron Fist and Shang-Chi. If you want to keep up with the podcast, you can do so over on social media platforms, Twitter X, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Threads. If you want to keep up with myself, Justin Raymer, you can do so over on Twitter X and Instagram. If you want to hear me roll some dice with some shenanigans and some serious role-playing with my friends, we play tabletop role-playing games such as Dungeons & Dragons and Star Wars and Pathfinder. You can check us out over at The Last Tavern on the Left podcast. We're currently playing the Infinity Crisis of the Omniverse. Donatello has summoned the Titan-sized metalhead from the Ninja Turtles crossover to aid him and Goku and Doctor Doom in fighting Godzilla. It's a good time. Players love it. I'm a comic book guy. Well, I guess if you're listening to this podcast, you know I'm a comic book guy. You're a comic book person. It's a comic book TTRPG campaign. Please go listen to it and subscribe. But today, we're here to talk about Power Man Timeless number 2 from Marvel Comics. It was released on March 12th, 2025, along with 15 other titles from Marvel. They are Alien Paradiso Volume 1, number 4, All New Venom Volume 1, number 4. I'll talk about that today as well with Luke Cage. Amazing Spider-Man Volume 6, number 69. Nice! Deadpool Volume 10, number 12. Hellhunters Volume 1, number 4. Hellverine Volume 2, number 4. Iron Man Volume 7, number 6. Namor Volume 2, number 8. Nick Fury vs. Fin Fang Foom Volume 1, number 1. I need to read that, because I love me some Fin Fang Foom and I love me some Kaiju. Phoenix Volume 1, number 9. Sabretooth, The Dead Don't Talk, Volume 4. Star Wars Legacy of Vader, Volume 1, number 2. West Coast Avengers, Volume 4, number 5. X-Factor, Volume 5, number 8. And wrapping up the list is X-Men, Volume 7, number 13. The title of this issue is called No Choice at All, and your creative team are writers The Hive Mind, Jackson Lansing and Colin Kelly. Your artist is Bernard Chang. Color artist is Marcelo Maleo. Letters go to Travis Lanham, and the cover artist is Ario Anadito. It features Power Man getting slugged by Aeon the Knife. Really like this villain, especially after this issue. Can't wait to talk about that part of the book. But let's go ahead and get on to the story. Unleashing a fraction of the immortal Hulk's immense power, Luke tries to reason with Aeon again. Thinking Cage believes they are equals, the knife reveals how the Kree used him as a weapon after his inhuman powers manifested. Aeon mocks Cage, asking Power Man if he sees a hero. Unfortunately, Luke sees some of himself. The thought enrages Cage as he unleashes a blast of energy at the villain. As their battle renews, Eversight charges Aeon over murdering the Celestial Heart. Given no choice, Luke summons his Gamma Power and beats the Inhuman relentlessly, all the way to Venus just to save her. Seeing that the knife is finished, Power Man warns him to leave their solar system or die. Realizing he was wrong and how much the death of the heart has actually hurt Eversight, Luke tries to make it up to her. Sitting with her in the remains of the entity, he answers her questions about life on Earth. But when Eversight asks about family, Void intervenes with Cage's thoughts about lying. Their conversation is cut off as she begins screaming as she feels the solar system fall out of place. In her mind, Eversight sees Mercury falling into the sun. She warns Power Man that if they don't save the planet, it could spell doom for Earth. Summoning the power of the immortal Hulk and the Sentry, Luke unleashes lasers out of his eyes to halt Mercury. The impact rips up the planet's crust, revealing a massive brain and eye held within. It speaks of them, calling itself the Celestial Mind, and that it seeks vengeance for its brother. Badly beaten but alive, anger swells in Aeon as he rises to his feet. Using his sword, he cleaves an opening into space, leaving Venus to arrive on Mars. Demanding to see the planet's champion, the Inhuman finds himself face to face with Apocalypse. Another good issue by Lansing and Kelly. Not getting a lot of history with Luke. We're getting some hints at some bad stuff based on what we've read. But overall, I really like this book a lot. And once again, I don't think I'm going to like that this is 4 issues. I'm going to want more of this. So I'm hoping maybe this is like a yearly thing, or this will wrap up in April, I think. May. Maybe at the end of the year we'll get another mini-series, depending on how this wraps up. But the thing is, I just want to point some stuff out. I was right about other organs that are celestials, and I hope it goes no further than a brain, because the heart and brain seems about all you need. Anything else to me is just weird. Lungs, liver, gut, bladder, kidneys, pancreas. That just seems weird, and I know it's kind of odd to even bring that stuff up. But this brain, it has this eye that kind of rolls into focus as they see it. It's very Lovecraftian, very Cyclopean, and my mind instantly went to Shuma Gorath. I love me some Shuma Gorath and Marvel vs. Capcom 2, but I love it. It's totally different than the heart. The heart just looked like a giant heart made of gold and white, and I referenced that, how it kind of looks similar to Khonshu and Moon Knight in a way. And this just literally looks like a giant brain with some tentacles and a giant cyclopean eye in the middle. And I'm at this point now that I referenced Apocalypse knowing about the Celestials and whatnot in the episode before this with issue 1, but now I'm really going to be upset if he doesn't know anything about this brain and this heart, because he knows his stuff about the Celestials. He has a long history in regards to that, but I really like this. Now, speaking of being right, I was also wrong. Anybody who probably guessed was probably wrong, say about 99% of us. Aeon the Knife, not tied to Apocalypse, maybe not yet. Maybe he's going to become a horseman in the next issue, because clearly he doesn't have enough power to beat Power Man. But he is an Inhuman, and I did not expect that. So the book opens up with Luke Cage. He's charging Aeon. Right before they collide, Luke unleashes the power of the Immortal Hulk. And it's cool because he's green, and as he unleashes it with a massive gamma clap, he turns back black. And he sends Aeon flying, and then Aeon gives him a good monologue. So I'm just going to kind of read over this real fast. If he ever had a choice, he had one no longer. The knife from beyond the stars was death incarnate. It had already bloodied a god. Aeon was inescapable, inexhaustible, and pitiless. The rage of the Hulk and the dragon and the void all pounded in the hero's chest, demanding the fight to come at him. This is pretty cool, this opening page, as we kind of get the two at the end of issue 1, and some of the way that these panels are broke up with these fights are really, really awesome. And as we see where half of Luke's Cage's face is itself and then turn into the Immortal Hulk, what choice was left to the time-lost warrior called Power Man? Was no choice at all. Then he gamma claps him. He sends him flying, and he lands on part of the heart. It doesn't have to be like this. I know better than to accept a fight when we can talk like men. You fear my power, Aeon questions him. I've got the power of 1,000,000 exploding suns, Aeon. It's you who should be afraid, Aeon. Now, I don't know the first thing about you, man. Only thing I got is that the self-important god machine you just killed was scared of you. And the main thing I know about him is that he abducted a girl and made her love him. If you have a grievance, I get it. I've been there. Let's find another way. Please. Aeon answers him. You speak to me like an equal. Is that why you hesitate? Perhaps you think this man from the stars is like me. Shall we find out together? My suffering began when our world was still young, when a nameless sapient child was taken up by the Kree, as so many had before him, and made to walk within the mist. He opens his arms. Inhuman, they called me. There was generations of us, shackled to the slave engine and the Terrigen mist of Adelan, all in hopes of a power beyond opposition. But when I was reborn, when my powers came manifest, even the very fabric of space-time could be cut by the mere touch of my skin. So I think that's cool. That goes in with him opening the portal to go from one planet to another, so it's just his touch. So he's like a cosmic, powered silver samurai. The Kree claim me as their own. They knew true power when they saw it. The cage of armor is not for my protection, it was for theirs. I was a destroyer, entire world sundered, arms of the galaxy reduced to black and ash. But the genetic messiah is not fit for smashing worms. Complete supremacy is my birthright, to asunder all things that cannot resist, as nature demands, and I have come to claim it. As he raises his sword in the air, Luke gives him a hard stare. So tell me, Power Man, when you look at the face of Aeon the Knife, do you see a hero? And we kind of get flashbacks to the birth of Aeon in one side of Luke Cage, as maybe it's a telepathic assault, giving the anguish on Luke's face as he throws his head up and his arms open wide. What he saw was a relentless experiment that turned the boy into a weapon, a man who lived his life without the touch of another, except for those he exterminated for his masters. And then the other side of the panel is Luke's going through, the Bernstein experiment, facing off against Khonshu, Jessica, and Danielle, a system that caged that which it could not control, until its wrath could kill a god. No, Luke Cage did not see a hero in the man from beyond the stars, but he did see himself. This is all mocking from the void, and I love this, because the thing you've got to remember is all this monologuing, all this captioning that we're getting, it's not Luke, it's the void inside his head, and I love it. So, they continue the fight. He blasts him with some energy. Aeon blocks it with his sword, and he's charging through the energy beam. Very Dragon Ball Z, and I've seen Landon and Kelly call this a Dragon Ball Z type book. I love me some Dragon Ball. Luke catches the blade, which is cool because it can cut his skin. And Aeon says, "Yes, lash out, mortal. Rail against your end. I am the superior you have long so feared. Foretold by the Inhumans, destined by the Kree. I am that which stands at the end." And as he goes to striking, then Eversight interferes. Luke, given no choice, summons the power of the mortal Hulk again and lays an ass whooping of all time on Aeon. So he summons the power, charges in to stop them two from colliding, punches him again, and it causes this big shock wave of energy as he goes flying into Venus. And he's just bouncing off debris as he hits the ground. And Luke, still green with the power of the Hulk, charges him, "Welcome to Venus." I'm going to assume he's saying bitch, maybe fucker, excuse my language. "Let's get you a closer look." And he just keeps beating him. Then he flies up, hits him, and it's like a nuclear explosion. And the panels here break up again. And it's got these strange lines that outline each panel and are kind of in the middle of the panel just to show you how chaotic and Hulk-like Cage is in this moment. And he is just beating the crap out of Aeon. And then we get this great splash page where he is standing over him. The Void kind of narrates this. "As I said, what choice was left to him was no choice at all." And then Luke's voice captions, his voice bubbles are black like they're the Void's. "Stay down. Leave this system, or next time we fight, I'll rip you in fucking half." Pretty awesome. I can't wait till we see just full-blown Luke. We've already got that teaser with issue 4 on the cover. And I had mentioned, maybe it's the Phantom Limb power that the Void has. If Luke has the Iron Fist, and we've yet to really see a lot of this yet. But we do get more Hulk power. He summons the Hulk energy, turns green, unleashes laser beams at his eyes at the end of the book to try to stop Mercury from falling into the sun. And that's what unleashes the celestial brain. So really getting to see the power displayed by Power Man in this book. This is the good part, and I'm very curious where this is going to lead to. So when Luke tries to make everything up to Eversight, he realized he was wrong about everything in issue 1, and she asked him what's it like to have a family. And we've got 9 panels, 3 across, 3 rows, and it says, "It's something beautiful, like a heart outside your chest." And then this is Luke, playing Luke Cage. The next page, he's black, like he's the Void, like pitch black. Don't lie. Lovers are tricky, though. Parents are tough. Children are tougher, because every moment with them, you only get once. That hit me hard. As a father of a 3-year-old and 5-year-old, my 5-year-old's about to start kindergarten, I feel like I am aging to a point where I'm not going to remember anything. And that bothers me. And to read that, that was really, really touching. I'm going to cry thinking about it, but let's move on. The next panel, we see Void Luke grinning. Go on, back to regular Luke. And when they're gone, it's just, and it's back to the Void. It looks like he's trying to not laugh, like he's trying to hold it in. Then we get regular Luke looking at his hands. and where they were, where all that love and care and comfort used to be. And then we have this really evil grin of Luke Void with all the sharp teeth hanging out of his mouth. There's just nothing. So, what is he lying about here? The Void obviously knows something. I've kind of come to think of like the Void with his wife during New Avengers, where like she was terrified of him and he was scared. And we hadn't seen the Void at that point during Bendis' run on the series. So I'm kind of wondering if it's something like that with the Void. Maybe the Void killed Jessica and Danielle. I'm not really sure. I'm very curious to see how that plays out. Excellent issue, though. Got some teases for some questions. We got Apocalypse showing up at the end. Should be a good fight between him and Luke Cage if we get that. I can't see not getting that at all. But let's briefly talk about All New Venom. Number 3 released not too long after issue 2, so I didn't get to talk about it. But I'm going to talk about what I said on social media with number 3. So after reading All New Venom 3, I'm beginning to think the symbiote is using alternate host. Using Luke's genetics would make it withstand fire, because we do get that in here one page. As he's trying to stop a fire, he's using the symbiotes almost like whirlwinds, like you would see the Flash put out fires with his arms. And the doctor says fire retardant webbing. Fascinating. So, not really sure. Too many quips this issue not to be Rick, because he is quipping a lot in the issue Venom is. And also in issue 3 or 2, I can't remember, I think it's issue 2. There's a disconnect with the host, which could be Robbie, because he's not used to being a superhero. And that would explain why he's kind of fighting with the host not to be bonded. And it's harder for him to do that, because we know symbiotes have to bond. And it would be easier, I think, for bonding and fighting off the permanent connection if you're Luke or Rick Jones. So let's move on to issue 4, which come out the same day as this book. So we do have Robbie and Rick together, debating on who was where during the fight with Madam Mask and everything. But she kills a guy live stream in the middle of a mall or something. Rick's got to be there because it's his job to cover stuff for the newspaper. Robbie says he has to step out for a moment. Well, anyway, so we get to fight. MODOK blast Venom. It's cool. There's a MODOK bullet that Madam Mask fires out of her gun. It is so cool. I love that. Evan, my friend Evan, loves MODOK. Probably the biggest MODOK fan ever. He's gonna love this. Anyways, MODOK blasts Venom. Whoever this new Venom is, they're inexperienced. Premature banner can be fatal. Let me deal with those webs, Madam Mask. So he kind of burns the webbing, goes, much obliged, but you're losing your touch, George. He's still twitching, and he's talking about the person under their symbiote. We can tell there's a person there. They look built. Kind of looks like Luke Cage, maybe, but the symbiote's covering them all together. Well, that's embarrassing. My sonic murder beam is usually so efficient. The twin minds of the symbiote and the host must have twice the resistance to mental attack. So let's double that, shall we? Excuse me. Rick Jones shows up. We find out that he is Sleeper Agent, a symbiote that showed up around the time of Donny Cates' Venom run really early on. And which is weird about him being Sleeper is because at the beginning of this book, at North Brothers Island, we see Flash Thompson talking to Toxin, because they have these symbiotes detained there, and Sleeper is there as the cat sleeping. So, very curious how that works out. The very interesting thing about this issue, Rick Jones is a suspect, Robbie Robertson is a suspect, Madam Mask has been a suspect, Luke Cage has been a suspect, and he's the only person not in this book. He's been in all 3 issues up to this point, not in issue 4. So, I'm very curious because, he got his head blasted open by Chase, and Dylan was like, oh, it's not Luke Cage. Gotta say my piece about that in issue 1 for this book, and how genetics work with the symbiotes. So it's gonna be interesting. Is Robbie gonna show up? We know Luke can't show up because he's the mayor, and there's a whole vigilante law stuff going on. So, if Robbie shows up, and there's no Luke, it's gotta be Luke, right? Anyways, like I said, I could see where it's everybody so I'm not really sure what direction that's going to go. It's what you got to love about Al Ewing. But that'll wrap up this episode of the Daily Podcast Kung Fu, brought to you by the Villains Man. If you like the podcast, please check us out over on social media accounts, Twitter, X, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Threads. If you like my music, check out Rushing Tiger by Kuro over on SoundCloud and YouTube. But in the end, guys, remember, support your favorite podcast, support your local comic book shops, and keep reading comics, guys.